Picture this. You're staring at a book you borrowed from a friend months ago. It's sitting on your coffee table, right where you always drop your keys after work. Every time you walk by it, your brain gives you a gentle poke. Hey, that isn't yours. You plan to give it back soon, you really do. But somehow, soon drags on for 3 more months, and now it's awkward. Returning borrowed things is one of those everyday errands that feels weirder than it should. Whether it's a pair of headphones, a phone charger, a mixing bowl, or that library book you swore you'd finish by last Saturday. For some reason, giving these things back always feels heavier than you expect. Sometimes literally. Mostly in that low-stakes, slightly anxious, why am I like this emotional way? Why does handing back a borrowed mug feel faintly embarrassing? Why does giving someone their umbrella back make you weirdly sentimental? And why does it always bring on a little twinge of social awkwardness, no matter how many times you've done it? Scientists have yet to publish a full taxonomy of awkward object exchange energy. But today, that's what we're here to unpack. Returning a borrowed object seems like it should be simple. But beneath it, there's a whole ecosystem of emotions, expectations, and weird little rituals. And not all of them make sense in the cold, rational light of the kitchen fridge. Let's explore 4 totally normal, yet completely strange, reasons borrowed things feel heavy to give back. First, there's the obvious physical mechanism, the simple logistics of remembering and transporting the item. Most of us don't walk around clutching a tote bag full of stuff we meant to return. A phone charger you borrowed during a 3-day conference now lives in your desk drawer, quietly tangled with 3 others. A salad spinner from next door keeps its place under the sink, aligned with the cleaning sprays, because you'll bring it over on your next grocery run. This grocery run, of course, falls somewhere between mailing birthday cards on time and voluntarily flossing on your probability chart. Objects blend into your landscape. They stop feeling foreign and just become part of the background. You tell yourself you'll bring the borrowed drill to Sunday brunch if you remember. But carrying a heavy, humming power tool through a casual pancake meetup doesn't quite fit the vibe. It's hard to be breezy when you're holding cordless hardware over Eggs Benedict. And so, the item stays put. The longer it sits, the more it feels yours adjacent. Every tiny effort to transport it out the door, to the correct person, feels a little heavier than just tossing it in your bag. The act of remembering, transporting, timing, and finally handing it off starts to pick up friction. Sooner or later, returning that one DVD will require as much strategic planning as a shuttle mission. Objects that don't fit your current routine become minor logistical puzzles. You hesitate. Do you carry the borrowed casserole dish to work, risking questions on the subway, or do you wait until you're invited over again? Each problem, small by itself, combines into a sense of resistance, a small gravitational field forming around the borrowed object. Literally, borrowed things just take up more space than they did at first. The second mechanism is emotional. Giving something back turns into a miniature farewell. The mug you borrowed from your aunt last Thanksgiving isn't just ceramic anymore. It's a tiny, accidental souvenir of a calm afternoon in someone else's house. Even the textbook you borrowed for one desperate study session is covered in silent memories, late-night underlines, coffee ring kisses. Handing it back means letting go of that whole little side story. The object becomes infused with the time you spent with it, sometimes more than you expected. A borrowed sweater picks up your scent, your crumbs, your shape. Returning it is almost like letting go of a friendship, but fluffier. Even if it's just a friend's paperback, you're closing the book not just on the story, but on the chapter where you were the temporary keeper. Objects known to be on loan feel slightly, deliciously stolen. It's a kind of licensed nostalgia. Nobody weeps over returning a Tupperware, but you might find yourself staring at it one last time, remembering the meal inside. Some parting moments are tinged with absurd drama, like bowing out of a play you never meant to star in. That bookmark in a borrowed novel, the smudge on the borrowed sunglasses, the hoodie you wore alone on a weird night in. Returning these objects means erasing a little story only you remember. Next comes the third and heavier mechanism, the dense web of unspoken social scripts built around borrowing and returning. Society mostly runs on vague expectations, not formal contracts. When you borrow something, you accidentally sign up for a relationship status, not quite owner, responsible party, slightly nervous caretaker. It's the one time in life when a pair of salad tongs weighs more than a career decision. You worry, will returning this too soon seem rude? Holding on to it too long, will that seem disrespectful? Your friend lent you that umbrella 6 months ago. Do you apologize for the delay? Do you thank them again? Pretend it was only a week. Returning borrowed objects is a dance choreographed by invisible etiquette. You want to strike the right note, Grateful but not needy, apologetic but not desperate. Is there a correct facial expression for "thanks for letting me take this object captive temporarily"? Timing matters too. You can't just return a ladle at a funeral, or a laptop charger at a wedding. People will notice. Sometimes you stretch the truth just to make the handoff less awkward. Found this in my bag, forgot I had it. Or you build elaborate drop-off plans because simply walking up and returning it feels absurdly formal. Maybe you tuck a note in with the returning item, or bake cookies to soften the social landing. You overthink. Does giving it back remind them you owe something else? Will this somehow reset the balance of the friendship? A casual loan is suddenly a loaded performance with the world's smallest audience and highest emotional stakes. Finally, there's the personal mechanism. Returning borrowed things reminds us that nothing really belongs to us forever. You live in a world defined by temporary ownership. Your favorite mug can shatter, your playlist can disappear, your rental home is not entirely yours. Borrowing something exposes the illusion of having anything totally under your control. Handing it back means acknowledging that you were just passing through. It's like a tiny rehearsal for all the endings you pretend won't come. Job contracts that expire, friendships that drift, the seasons that quietly change. Giving back your neighbor's hammer isn't just about hammers. It's about admitting you're not permanent in the narrative of every object you touch. Returning a borrowed book marks the end of a pretend ownership. You were trusted for a while to be the guardian of someone else's treasure. And maybe, for 7 slow weeks, that book nudged the stack on your coffee table right where your own would have gone. But now it goes back to someone else, and your table feels a fraction emptier. There's a gentle longing in that tiny loss. Suddenly, you notice the book-shaped gap. Sometimes, the act of giving it back feels like a small confession that you never fully owned even the borrowed time. If you pay attention, you can feel a parade of other quiet endings shadowing the handoff. Graduation robes, childhood lunchboxes, the first car you had to turn in, the friend who moved away. Returning a borrowed object is personal because it's a stage for all the impermanence underneath daily life. So what do we do with this weird heaviness? Maybe the awkward weight is just a reminder to notice these little handoffs, moments full of invisible stories and unsaid goodbyes. We could lean into the ritual instead of rushing past it. Next time you return something, allow yourself the extra second to remember the tiny era where it lived on your shelf. There's no need to dramatize it. This isn't a slow-motion montage, but you can have a quiet appreciation for the strange dance of giving and receiving. Maybe you make the moment a little friendlier, share a story about what you did with the item, attach a thank you note, or smile and say, "Your ladle had many adventures." You could even host a ceremony if your friend can handle theatrical endings for soup spoons. You can also notice where the heaviness comes from: a logistical snag, a small nostalgia, an awkward social dance, or a fleeting awareness of impermanence. Not every awkward exchange needs to be solved. Some just need to be recognized so they don't get stuck. And if you happen to put off returning something, now you know why the delay feels so charged. It's not just forgetfulness, it's you, living out 4 mechanisms at once. Borrowed things have a weird gravity. When you finally give them back, you leave with empty hands but a slightly heavier mind, one that just entertained a whole secret exchange. So next time you hand over that mug, know you're taking part in one of life's smallest, strangest rituals, the quiet drama of returning what was never quite yours. If you found yourself nodding along to the awkward, invisible heaviness of borrowed things, you might like what we do at The Weird Reason. Subscribe for more everyday mysteries unraveled. Or just leave us your favorite object return story down below. After all, nothing stays ours forever except, maybe, a good YouTube comment.